Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome in to another edition of Golic and Wingo. Glad you're with us on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance, and our phone guest will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And speaking of the guests, we have got a loaded show.
Yes, we do.
Bradley Chubb will join us at 7:45, who could be the first defensive player off the board. A lot of people, including the Broncos' Von Miller, apparently very high on what Bradley Chubb out of North Carolina State, defensive end, may be able to do at the NFL level. Mel Kiper Jr. will join us at 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock, ESPN NFL insider and occasional NBA sideline reporter Adam Schefter will be here as well. Plus, we've got new Broncos quarterback Case Keenum coming your way, as well as PJ Carlesimo, our fine ESPN NBA analyst. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here. We are wearing things that we would normally not wear on the show today, but it is for a very specific reason.
Yes, it is. So if you're on ESPN News, you can obviously see them. If radio, you can't. So my son Mike, you will explain why we're wearing these pretty cool T-shirts.
Yeah, so Stephanie Walsh, who works here at ESPN,
Absolutely.
who Trey, I know you know pretty well here and has been around a long time. Well, her son Silas was diagnosed last spring with T-cell leukemia and is going to be likely undergoing chemotherapy treatments until 2020. Now, you know, it's obviously a hard time for anyone, but Silas is an upbeat kid, a kid who really loves superheroes, and so he decided to make the time work for him and actually started making these T-shirts. These are his own drawings of some of his favorite superheroes that you're seeing modeled by the Golic and Wingo staff here today, myself, Dad, Trey, and everyone behind the glass. And so Silas has put these up on a website that we're going to share the link to that, certainly he gets some kickback from, but just gets a chance to share the things that he loves with everyone else. And we figure we could share him around here to show that, you know, we're all big fans of his work and the stuff that he's doing right now and that we're supporting him in this battle. You know, it takes a lot of people, and I'm sure for him and his mom and their family, this has been a trying time. So there's also going to be a link, and I think we're going to share this with the Golic and Wingo Twitter account, to not only where you can get these shirts and any other of the products that he's put his superhero logos on, but also to the GoFundMe page that can help support Silas and Stephanie and their family during this time for them. So be sure to check that out. Allie's going to tweet it from the Twitter account here, but just by all accounts, sounds like an awesome kid. Tim Cronin over in IT kind of passed the word along to me that this is something that he had been doing. So wanted to show Silas that we're here to support him during the show, and we appreciate the lift on all the great gear.
Absolutely. Look, as you said, I've known Stephanie forever, and the other thing is, the shirts are awesome.
Yeah, they are awesome.
They're awesome. They're very cool.
And you got to remember, this is a 7-year-old doing this. You know,
exactly.
7 years old, and making up these designs that we're putting on the shirts. And listen, what they're going to go through. You know, we everybody has been touched by this in some form or another. So if we can put a smile on this young man's face, you know, and help in any way along the way, we're certainly here to do it for one of our teammates here.
Yeah, it's incredible, and you can check out on Facebook. Silas Rocket is what he goes by on his Facebook page, and when he's selling the shirts.
How great is that name?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
How great is that name?
Baller name, and by all accounts, and Stephanie's does a great job on the page of giving updates on Silas throughout this. And the kid just basically runs the show at the hospital where he's getting treatment. Everyone knows him. He's a big, gregarious kid, and so no surprise that he'd be the one giving us a gift during a time when he's the one battling. So be sure to check that out. Support Silas and Stephanie in any way you can, and pick up some sweet gear, man. If you want to look good, Silas got you covered.
He does. He has the artistic flair, just like his mother, I should say. No question about it. So Silas, Stephanie, we are with you. Thank you for these shirts, and we will wear them with pride. All right, let's get started.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not,
it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, we start in the NBA playoffs. Raptors, Celtics, and Pelicans all won Tuesday to take 2-0 series leads. Teams with 2-0 leads in the best-of-7 series go on to win, 93% of the time.
A lot.
So you're off to a good start.
Yeah, and if you're the Celtics, it's even better than that. They're 35-0 when leading a best-of-7 series.
Is that good?
Yeah, 2-0. Yeah, that's pretty good with what they're doing. DeMar DeRozan, he scores 37. Big night for him. He and his best buddy Kyle Lowry have a little fun together. You can't wait to hear that one. It's pretty interesting. Milwaukee and Boston. I actually picked Milwaukee in this series.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you, Giannis and...
I think I did, too.
I think we all did.
Yeah, I think we all did. And Chris Middleton, they've been fine. 23 of 31 between the two of them. 55 points, 30 and 25 respectively, but not enough. They're actually shooting better than Boston in the series, but Boston is turning the ball over more, getting more second chance points and points off turnovers as well with what they're doing. Terry Rozier, big game. Jaylen Brown, monster game for Boston. Interesting stuff going on with Terry Rozier and Eric Bledsoe. We'll get to as well. And then I think I got this one wrong. You got the Pelicans going to Portland and taking both games there. Anthony Davis being a stud as he normally is. Drew Holiday, 33 points. He's doing it on both sides of the court. So those are that was your NBA action last night wasn't really, edgy or came down to the wire or anything like that.
No, yeah, it was pretty
just
blasé.
Enjoy the show.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah. You know what? That we have only the Celtics and the Bucks to blame because in this grouping of games, they gave us maybe the best game of the early run of the playoffs so far in Game 1. So with that as the standard, this fell well short, but we still got plenty of entertainment because the NBA's got great characters.
And not only that, but I think for all three of us that picked the Bucks over the Celtics, I think we need to say
I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah,
and we'll move on because the Celtics have never lost a 2-0 lead.
No, they
haven't.
You
said.
Off the top.
We continue off the top. This is an amazing story, and it continues to be an amazing story. The Golden Knights beat the Kings 1-0 Tuesday to sweep their first ever playoff series. Vegas is the third team all-time from the NHL, NBA, or MLB to complete a 4-game sweep to win its first ever playoff series. The other two, Mike, you were there, the 1914 Braves.
I was. The Braves, they did it against the Philadelphia Athletics, and I was certainly there for when the Penguins did it in 1970 against the Oakland Seals.
There you go.
Who doesn't remember the Oakland Seals?
Well, the Oakland Seals were named because the old minor league team in the Bay Area was the San Francisco Seals. That's where Joe DiMaggio first got some attention.
Listen, can't say enough about what the Golden Knights are doing. Marc-Andre Fleury in the goal. I mean, he's just been fantastic. By the way, fewest goals scored in a sweep, best of 7 all time. So the Golden Knights are setting all kinds of records. They set the record here as well. They only scored 7 goals in this sweep, but before that it was the Mighty Ducks in 03 that scored 9 goals. So setting all kinds of records. I'm sure they'd like to not set that one anymore and score more goals than that. But what a monster series for them and a great story that continues.
We always hear the phrase, too, in sports, especially for guys in their rookie year. After a certain point in the season, you're no longer a rookie. We're getting to that point now where we have to start looking at the Golden Knights and saying, you're no longer expansion. And now, what is the ceiling like for this team in the NHL playoffs? What is this group fully capable of? And can anyone get me a lead on some Oakland Seals gear? Yeah. I need that desperately.
That is awesome. Oakland Seals.
Give you some Oakland Seals sweaters there for sure. Now, a big reason that they've done what they've done is because of their goaltending situation. Yep. Look, they picked up Marc-Andre Fleury in the expansion draft. He was a big part of winning 3 Stanley Cups.
Yes, he was.
With the Pittsburgh Penguins, so that certainly helps. He now has 66 career playoff wins, and he passes Dominik Hasek, who had 65, for 11th in NHL history. So, listen, what do we say so much about the NHL playoffs? You ride that hot goaltender.
Yeah.
They have got that hot goaltender right now, a guy who's done it more than once.
Capitals get a win, or a couple other games. They get a win over the Blue Jackets. They still are down in that series, 2 games to 1 of the Blue Jackets, and the Jets shut out the Wild 2-0. Jets up 3-1 in that series.
Off the top.
All right, we continue off the top, and ladies and gentlemen, he's human.
3-2 pitch again. And Mookie swings and he hammers one to left center field. This ball's back. This ball's gone. A home run for Mookie Betts. His 12th career leadoff home run. And the Red Sox jump on Ohtani for a 1-0 lead.
That the call on WEEI is one of 400 home runs that Mookie Betts hit in that game. As our guy, Shohei Ohtani, finally did not show out. Lasted only 2 innings, had a blister on his pitching hand, and that was a lead-off home run to start the game against the Red Sox.
So he still has hit more home runs, right?
3.
They've given up 3.
2.
He's given up 2. It was the blister really took away his control. He had averaged 14 pitches per inning before this. Needed 66 pitches to get through 2 innings. By my math, that average is 33 an inning, if my math is correct.
Well done. Proud of you.
We'll sit there as football players, you and I going through injuries. We're in the and I heard you talking about this. We're in the hockey playoffs. They're the toughest players in the world. I know. I'll be waiting for the tweets from some of the toughest athletes in the world.
Oh yeah, I know. Rugby guy will come out of the woodwork for this one. Some wrestling guy somewhere.
Some of the toughest guys in all of sports. Baseball. Listen, we both had our fun with it, with injuries, kind of goofy injuries and stuff. And you sit there and you think, blister. I ain't mocking a blister on the pitching fingers of a pitcher. I mean, and what you need for that pitching hand and the way you're throwing and the friction on your fingers and a blister and how that can mess it up. So good they got him out of there, let that thing heal, and let him keep going.
Maybe a blessing in disguise, too, because it had been a long and rough first couple of innings there, and so when you've got the blister as the backdrop for a reason to get him out there.
Just get out.
Pull
the cord.
Get him out of there. Maintain the confidence that you've been building. This wasn't a start that he was supposed to make anyway. We remember this is because the game against the Royals got postponed that he was supposed to start into. So just end a bad situation before it gets going so we can still play the song and feel good.
And it's not the first time we've seen blister situation. Rich Hill of the Dodgers had some issues. I think Aaron Sanchez of the Blue Jays, and you want to go way back, Al Leiter, when he was still pitching, had all kinds of blister issues. They had to get the pickle brine out.
I love the pickle brine.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Good for cramping up and staying
Eagles
hydrated.
against the Cowboys, 2000 season opener.
And good for blitzers. All right, we got to give Mookie Betts really quick some love here. Yeah. Now, the Red Sox destroyed the Angels in this game. Mookie Betts recorded his third career 3-home-run game Tuesday, tying Ted Williams for the most in Red Sox history. Here's the kicker.
Wait. Let me just let's repeat that.
Yeah.
Whenever you do something, when you tie Ted Williams for the most something in Red Sox history, you're winning.
Yes, you are.
I thought you were about to tweet that.
No. I'll do that later. Could you repeat that again?
Yeah, one more time.
I'll say it slow so you can type it out. His third career 3-home-run game, tying Ted Williams for the most in Red Sox history. Here's the kicker. It took Ted Williams 1,863 games to do that. It took Mookie Betts 523 games.
So he halved
to do
it.
that.
He halved it.
He way more than halved it.
Wow.
We're talking about he thirded it. He whatever it did.
Oh, wow. So words and numbers both just going out the window right now. We're punting on all of it.
Did you tweet that?
Not yet, but I will.
Well, maybe skip that last part.
I'll get it to you in the break, and then we'll figure it out. But again, even though it's a rough start and he has the blister, Shohei, you're still our guy.
I want you to Shohei the way.
And the more you tell us not to play that drop,
please tweet in and say you don't like that.
We're playing that drop. Yeah, right. And we'll finish up.
Off the top.
Speaking of confidence and lack thereof, Giancarlo Stanton, the struggle is real. Going 0 for 4 while striking out twice against the Marlins in the Yankees' 9-1 loss. Stanton should just be playing on the road at this point.
He, at home, in 8 home games, is hitting .086 with 20 strikeouts. He didn't record his 20th home strikeout last season until the 18th home game. He got this in his 8th home game. According to Elias, that's the most strikeouts any player's ever had through his first 8 home games in a season. Not the start you want, and from what we understand, he still may not have the furniture in his apartment.
Problems?
I mean, just a lot of problems.
I tell you what, you need one piece of furniture in your apartment right now, and that's the bathtub, because there's only one way to break out of this slump. You got to remind yourself what's important in life. You got to go home and you got to go fill a bathtub with money and just take a bath in it right now if you're Giancarlo Stanton. Because that's about the only thing. That is about the only thing you've got going for you, is that there are no good days and bad days, just paydays in your world if you're Giancarlo Stanton, but that's not going to help the masses outside of your apartment building in New York.
Look, man, everybody has their thing for slump busting. Maybe his is a treasure bath.
There you go.
Because he can literally have a treasure bath.
Did you just make that up?
No, there's an old Mel Brooks movie called The History of the World Part 1.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And
I just didn't remember.
It says it's time for a treasure bath, and he lies in the tub and they just throw all the gold.
I wish you would have made that up. I wish you would have made that up because it really is good.
It was totally me.
Totally
me. 100%. It's incredible. He needs to take a treasure bath.
Look, you get a treasure bath, you wipe off all the bad stuff, and just remind it that you are resplendent in glory and monetary design.
That's a great idea.
If I tried to take a treasure bath, I wouldn't even be able to cover up all the bad parts.
Yeah.
The tub would be pretty low.
Just borrow some of his treasure. You'll be fine.
I don't want to know where
all you need is a dime.
There you go. Let's sound off on the NBA playoffs last night. It's brought to you by ADT. Are you considering home security? Well, consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. Visit ADT.com to learn more. Okay, Junior, you said it a few moments ago that maybe the games haven't been that entertaining so far in round one of the playoffs because they've not really been close except for the first game between the Celtics and the Bucks, which had 2 crazy threes, which sent it to overtime.
First Portland and New Orleans game was pretty good as well.
Yes. But you said that hasn't been that great. However, the post-game press conferences have been really, really good. For example, DeMar DeRozan had, 37 points last night?
Yes, he did.
So he was talking about it, and as he was talking about a very good game for him, for some reason, he was interrupted by teammate Kyle Lowry.
I just let the game come to me, the flow of the game. I go based off that. These days, it's not like I got to have the mindset to go out there and, I got to score 30, 40 points. I go out there and play aggressive.
You just had 37. What you mean?
I didn't go out there saying, let me score 30 tonight.
But I'm saying, you had 37. Don't say it like that.
But I'm saying I didn't go out there
but
saying.
All I'm saying, you can't say that when you had 37.
Listen what I'm trying to explain, though, bro.
I understand what you're saying, but you
No, you don't. Let me finish. I didn't even.
Can I leave?
Like I said, I didn't go out there planning to score 37 points. I went out there to be aggressive, and with my aggressiveness came out 37 points.
Every person who has a significant other has had that discussion about something.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I heard that and said, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, it sounds like a couple.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
Can I finish?
I didn't mean it
just
that way.
let me finish.
Will you listen to me? Can I finish what I'm saying? You're missing the point. Yeah. That was fantastic. Loved it.
It confirmed everything I thought I knew about Kyle Lowry just by looking at him, too. Like, Kyle Lowry looks like that little kid in the back of class that's always got something slick to say.
Yes.
Like, that's exactly the demeanor that he carries through life, and I'm glad it's what he brought to that press conference. Because it reminded us that, to your point, celebrities, they're just like us.
Just like us.
They fight, they bicker, they love each other at the core of it.
There you go.
You always tend to fight a little harder with the people you love the most.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing you need to understand, that is, DeMar and Kyle are boys. There's no question about it. And this was Kyle after the game as well, even though what he says, take it with a grain of salt.
DeMar is an unbelievable player, all NBA, MVP type caliber player. 14 from 23 is efficient, 3 for 6 from the 3-point line, 6 for 8 from 3, but also 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and some good defense. He's just grown as a player, and every year I've been with him, he just continues to get better, and I don't care. He's my friend. I don't care. He still sucks as a friend. But as a basketball player, he's really good and just getting better every single year. And when I'm not shooting the ball like that, it doesn't matter. I mean, if I'm not shooting the ball well, the guy, he held it down for our team. 37 points. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
can we take this show on the road for the entire postseason?
It's the sign of true friendship. You can only go so far saying nice things.
Yes.
Before and that meter goes off in your head. Okay, I've gone too long. Have to throw a dig in there. Have to rip them somehow. Then I'll go back to being nice again. That's the true sign of good friendship.
I'm telling you, this is a great PR campaign by these guys, too, because what do we talk about going to the postseason? All we do with these two guys is say this backcourt doesn't get it done in the postseason. And by that, we mean they don't beat LeBron, which they have in common with a lot of people over the course of the last 15 years. And so what do? Get people to like you a little bit. Get the buddy cop thing going right here. Maybe get an ad out of this one. I think it can all be part of turning around the narrative.
What ad could work with kind of the bickering too back and forth? We'd have to think of that.
I feel like you could get a Sour Patch Kids deal out of this. Sweet, sour, and gone. You get a little both of that. A little left and right Twix, maybe.
Yeah, Twix, right Twix, left Twix seems to make the most sense.
I'm telling you, listen, if you guys need an agent.
Way to go to your candy strength, by the way. Nothing else.
What
candy could I? Not even food, candy. Yeah. Just sugar-coated goodness is the one thing you were thinking of.
It was already on my brain, so it was an easy bridge to
There's
make
a shocker.
right there.
By the way, you know who was on Eric Bledsoe's brain?
Who's that?
Terry Rozier. Now, Eric Bledsoe, of course, we all thought that the Bucks would do better in this series, but history says they won't because the Celtics have never lost a series in which they're up 2-0. And Terry Rozier for the Celtics has had 2 games, 20 points or more. I think 23 and 21 in the first 2 games. So Eric Bledsoe of the Bucks was asked about just how well Terry Rozier has been playing.
Terry Rozier's gotten off to a strong start to this series. No turnovers in 78 minutes. How personally do you take that matchup?
Who?
Terry Rozier.
I don't even know who that is.
Okay. Yeah. Stop that now.
Yeah. I mean, do you realize how ridiculous you sound?
Apparently not.
It just sounds dumb.
Maybe he doesn't actually know.
I mean, seriously, it is just so foolish to say. Because Rozier, good for him, because of course, what's the first thing you do when that happens if you're a reporter is you go run to Rozier and say, hey, you know what Eric Bledsoe said?
He doesn't even know who you are.
He doesn't even know who you are. But exactly right.
Should we help Eric with Terry Rozier?
Well, really quick, what Rozier said in response when he was asked about it, Rozier wanted no part of it. He said, I'm not feeding into that.
There you go.
Good for him. That's the right answer. And Bledsoe, you've got to be kidding me. Not only are you getting smoked on the court, but now you sound ridiculous in the postgame.
And let's do a public service.
Okay.
Let's help Eric Bledsoe.
Oh.
Okay?
All right.
Terry William Rozier III was born on March 17th, 1994.
Uh-huh.
He started Shaker Heights High School in Shaker Heights, Ohio.
Yes.
Very nice Cleveland suburb.
Absolutely.
Graduating in 2012. In his senior year, he averaged 25.6 points, 6.5 boards, 4.5 assists, 4.7 steals per game, leading Shaker Heights to a 21-3 record and taking him to the regional semifinal. He was the 74th overall in the 2012 ESPNU Top 100 Players, went to Louisville, played for a few years. One of his best friends in high school was a guy named Jimmy Pope, who happened to be my son's roommate for 2 years at Georgetown. So there you go, Eric.
Look at the connection.
Now you know everything you need to know about Terry Rozier.
I don't even know that is.
Well, you can't say that anymore, can you?
I mean, seriously, is that a ridiculous comment to make or what?
We just need to get Terry Rozier into it, but we need to get him with Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan so he can learn to talk some bleep, because they run over with that, be like, I can tell you exactly who I am, and I just started reading the stat line when he was guarding me. Be like, listen, what happened to you last game, bum?
I tell you what, man, if I were Eric Bledsoe's teammates, I'd be handing him a bio really quick.
Yeah.
This is who he is.
Yeah.
You better get to know him even more because he knows you and he knows to go up, do what to do against you.
Well, just get on Jimmy Pope, who was his teammate in high school and my son's roommate
There
and
you
played
go.
football with at Georgetown. He'll break down everything we need to know. Jimmy Pope, we'll get him on to talk about Terry Rozier. Also played for the Maine Red Claws, by the way, before he went up to the Boston Celtics.
Well, see, there you go.
Bonus.
Is
Terry
Jimmy
Rozier.
Pope the new Alex Periano?
Yeah,
my
he
column.
is. Jimmy Pope is
the
the man.
Maine Red Claws, that's an awesome nickname.
It's a very good nickname.
And I completely understand why.
Lobster.
Yeah, but
Right.
that is awesome.
Folks, I have some bad news. We have conducted an internal investigation here at Golic and Wingo, and we've come with some exclusive audio related to the star of the baseball season, and sadly for you, you'll hear it next.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. All right, we continue here on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. That was Terry Rozier talking about what's going on, and Eric Bledsoe had said after Game 2, I don't know who the bleep Terry Rozier is. Part of that was because whether he was joking or not, Terry Rozier, when talking about Eric Bledsoe, said Drew Bledsoe.
After game one.
Yeah, now, we don't know if he was trolling him or, Drew Bledsoe, a very important figure in Patriots Boston history.
Exactly.
Whatever. So we don't know exactly what that is, but obviously Eric took it the wrong way.
There's the context of that, but the bottom line is Rozier's having himself a couple of games, and a bit of that is on Bledsoe. So I just don't think that's the time for any kind of a smart alecky type of a comeback when you're getting handled on the court.
I'm telling you, Terry Rozier needs to take advantage of this. You have a chance to stunt, and now you have a chance to stunt on somebody right now in Eric Bledsoe, and take advantage of that outfit troll. We see it all the time in the NBA. Show up to the next game wearing a Drew Bledsoe t-shirt.
Okay.
It's that easy.
Okay, you mentioned it, and I'm going to. If you have not seen Terry Rozier, did you see this, Mike? Terry Rozier during the presser after the game. Check it out. I actually took a picture of it when I was watching it.
It was interesting.
Terry Rozier has a top on that is half sweat jacket, half sport coat.
Half which way? Hot dog or hamburger?
Hot dog.
Hot dog.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Hot side. So
side.
One half is.
Oh, this is great.
Wow.
This is great radio now.
Yeah, I know.
Senior is giving a phone to Junior to look at, and his reaction is, oh, wow.
But while he was looking, I'm trying to explain again. Half of it is a sport coat. The other half, just like your hoodie sweatshirt, and it zips up.
And it's huge.
And it's ugly.
It looks like it's 2 sizes too big.
I mean, seriously, does that look ridiculous or not?
Well, it just looks ridiculous because it's too big. If you had got it tailored the right way, this would actually be hot.
If you tailor a half hoodie, jacket, and sport coat, that it could look good?
Yeah, business on the left, party on the right.
Well, that's like a clothing mullet. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
business
exactly.
in the front, party in the back.
Except you have it right.
Yeah.
That's the next great hairstyle. A half mullet on one side and then buzz cut on the other.
No,
You're welcome.
There's nothing right about
You're going to see that at Coachella 2019.
As Tim Hasselbeck would say every week after Cam Newton's press conferences where he came out in different clothing.
Yeah,
says those aren't outfits; those are costumes.
I don't understand this one. Now, is this made like this? Did he just put maybe as a whole sweat jacket and he put half a sport coat? He just kind of put it halfway. I have no idea.
Oh,
but it looks ridiculous.
It's an optical illusion created by the jacket.
Okay, so it was a little ridiculous.
Yeah,
and maybe a little forward thinking for us.
Well, very.
So we also were very forward thinking with Shohei Ohtani. You know, we had big concerns after the spring training. And where he was not playing well. And then, of course, he went out there and did the things he did.
Right.
And so he became, one of the guys that we're all in on, and that's why we did this.
I want you to Shohei the way.
That was Jer Bear and our fine staff putting that together.
Fantastic.
So apparently they tried to do another version, because that's sort of upbeat and happy because Shohei Ohtani's doing very well. Well, he got shelled last night.
Yeah, he did.
Only lasted 2 innings, got the blister, gave up a home run, was taken out very early. So we did an internal investigation here on Golic and Wingo, and this was something that somebody on the staff was trying to do a sad version of our Shohei the Way. Let me just say right away, America, I'm sorry. I want you to Shohei the Way.
We're going to do it again.
All right, so...
was that not good?
That was terrible.
No, let's just do it a couple times. So I think we have to speed it up a little bit.
Okay.
Hit the donut.
Got it. Donuts. Oh, no, that wasn't it. It's so high.
I know.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. I want you to Shohei the way.
That was Junior, your son, and Allie, the show eraser.
Oh,
nice,
gosh.
right?
Who, by the way, can no longer be called the show eraser.
Wow.
Because what we call her the show eraser because she fixes all the mistakes. She takes all the way.
She'd have to fix her own there.
She has to fix her own mistake.
Where's the mistake?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's vocal range. That's an octave change right there.
I give you guys all the credit in the world for doing that.
Yeah.
I do, but you got to take the good with the bad.
Hey, let me
in this
tell you
case,
what,
the bad with the good.
It shows you the standard
or the bad with the bad, as some people might say.
It shows you the standards for the two shows because we didn't deem that good enough to make first and last airways, but it's good enough for your guys' show over here.
No, it's good enough to play on this air to mock.
To mock you
To
guys.
mock.
Whatever you want to say, you're welcome.
Yeah, well, it was certainly content.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of content, apparently somebody in Major League Baseball thinks there's too much of it.
Mm-hmm.
Cubs first baseman Anthony Rizzo may be being very honest. Yesterday on ESPN 1000 in Chicago, had some very interesting things to say. First about the weather that baseball has had to play in. So let's listen to that first.
I think playing in the cold sucks, to be honest. It is what it is. Obviously, it's usually not this cold, so this is kind of a freak April around the league. But, you usually generally want to play the games now so you get your days off later, especially in the summertime when you can enjoy the days off more. But it is what it is, I don't think it's ever going to change, so you just got to deal with it.
Okay, couple of things there.
Thank
Obviously,
you.
this is... We'll get to you in a minute. You'll have your chance, smart guy.
Thank you.
As they say in Animal House. Obviously, it has been a really weird start to the baseball season because it's still winter everywhere. For example, we've had 26 postponements of games already. Let's put that in perspective. The last 2 years, for 162-game schedule, both in 2015 and 2016, there were 25. 2016 and 2017, rather, there were 25. We've already had 26 this year. So it has been an odd weather-wise start to the year.
Right.
I mean, the home opener for the White Sox was snowed out, and the very next day, 900 people actually went through the turnstile. So we've had an issue with the weather. However, Junior took this one step further on his show and went on to say, not only is playing baseball in cold weather terrible, he crossed the line. He broke the code and said playing football in snow is terrible. As a father, how do you feel about that?
I think he's completely wrong. I think he's incredibly wrong. I think Anthony Rizzo is wrong. So where do you want me to start?
Start with your son.
You want me to start with my son? You're wrong. But I understand your thought process. I do. Because, and obviously, I'm actually surprised. Because you were an offensive lineman. Again, I was a defensive lineman. Offensive linemen are considered, and admittedly so, as far as athletes, where do you rank on the position in football, offensive lineman in athletic ability?
Yeah, no, it's near the bottom.
No. It's not near the bottom.
Well, are you taking punters out of it?
Yeah, above the specialists.
I don't know.
Above the specialists.
We had a punter, John Telchik, and then also Jeff Fiegels, who were really good athletes.
You know what? They look like good athletes, but they can't. You got to up the degree of difficulty for how big the bodies are.
That means
Point of procedure. Bruce Matthews, Hall of Fame offensive lineman, was actually the Titans' emergency quarterback.
There is always an outlier,
yes,
and I played with Bruce in Houston, and he was an outlier. That dude was a great athlete. So that would mean you're counting specialists as football players. So, okay, you're going one further than me.
Yeah.
All right. So my point is you should love the snow.
Thank you.
Here's why I love the snow.
Thank you.
I make up for my lack of speed as a D lineman with my lack of strength, okay? I need every advantage I can get. When it's snow on the ground or bad weather, you know what happens? The whole game slows down. Now, we're in my wheelhouse, baby. So you should be happy when it's bad weather because those more athletic D linemen can't do the things they would normally do to pummel you offensive linemen.
Listen, I'm going to get pummeled either way in this situation. There is really no scenario.
At least there's an excuse you could say, had no footing, I was in 3 feet of snow.
You know what? They'll watch the tape of the normal games and realize that you just said you should be happy in this bad weather.
Yes.
Have you been happy the last few days here in New England? Have you been even close to happy?
I have never had an issue playing, and I played in that game in Dallas.
Oh, no, I get it. You played in every bad weather game imaginable.
And I don't mind them at all. Again, man, everything comes down to my speed. I have no issue with it. And when you're out there playing, you're actually not that cold. It's when you're standing on the friggin' sideline that you get cold.
I disagree. You were there for a game I played in high school in rainy, miserable conditions.
Yeah, that was ugly.
No one will look at that one and say it was great.
That's true.
I just don't understand why, because I think Anthony Rizzo is going to get some support in this.
No, he's not.
Because no one who is sitting out there in April right now saying, man, I really love sitting in these rainy, cold, awful games.
There are two things. You're right. I don't think anybody wants to sit through a baseball game unless it's Game 7 of the World Series in those kind of conditions, which, by the way, Anthony Rizzo was a part of. Remember that Game 7 went to extra innings and they had the rain to get it in? So he won his World Series for the Cubs the first time in forever because of that weather. However, there's something else that Anthony Rizzo said, which I think is very interesting, and we'll need to get to that.
Here's a little insider travel secret. There are tons of empty hotel rooms out there just waiting to be booked. That's why there's Hotel Tonight. Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them fill their unsold rooms, which means you get incredible deals. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book up to a week in advance and up to 100 days in advance in top destinations. So download the Hotel Tonight app to start scoring better deals at better hotels now.
Let's go back to another voice, and that would be Cubs first baseman Anthony Rizzo. He brought up the fact that nobody likes playing in cold weather, but then he took it one step further.
Me, personally, I would love it. I think it's too much baseball, personally. Yes, guys are going to take pay cuts, but are we playing this game for the money, or we love the game? I know there's both, but I think in the long run, it'll make everything better. I think starting the season later in the year, ending in October and not November, I don't know, but that's my opinion.
So basically he's saying, why do we play 162 games? That's basically what he's saying. And he said it on Cap and Company on ESPN 1000 in Chicago. So I actually have wondered this for a long time. I mean, the AL moved to 162 games in 1961, the NL a year later. The reason, because they added 2 teams and now had 10 in the league. They played each of the 9 opponents 18 times apiece, and that adds up to 162. I get all that, but it is the most arbitrary of numbers, is it not? 162?
It is arbitrary, but forgetting that, I love how he says, I know it means a smaller paycheck. He's willing to do that. Anthony, take a poll.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. Take a poll of the other baseball players. Says, raise your hand. Who's willing to give up some money and go to 154 or lower than that and give up some money? Are owners going to get less money now? I mean, what is the monetary effect that is going to drive this? And I get this year, but this is what we do. My God, it's 1 year. 1 year. Let's not knee jerk for 1 year of all of a sudden we got 25 cancellations or 26 or whatever it is.
But I think there's 2 parts to this. I think the cancellation and the cold weather is a separate discussion. I think it just bled into the other one. I think a lot of people have wondered for a lot of years, why the hell do we play 162 games? I mean, it's a weird number.
I get it. I understand that. But now It's not going to change unless it comes from baseball. No fan screaming about it is going to make it come less. So now if it's going to come less from baseball, you got to have baseball players willing to take less money and maybe owners taking less money. They're not going to do that.
My question is, would you have to now? And this would
if you don't, then that's a whole different thing.
Because this would be a question that I have just for the way this breaks down for how many games are on TV. If you lose some of the games that maybe aren't televised to begin with or already, because I know regional baseball channels cover a lot of that, so maybe there's no way to lose out on that. Because
there's nationally televised games, and almost everybody's regular season games are broadcast in some way, shape, or form in their own market.
And so maybe that's driving it, but we live in a time now where more and more of the national appeal of sports seems to be driving that. And for baseball, I know a lot of their digital presence has driven a lot of that. It's added sponsorship. And all of this has happened, by the way. They continue to hit revenue highs. I think they were over $10 billion in revenue last year. This is while attendance has been dipping along the way. So maybe you can create a little more supply and demand, making fewer games with that too.
Completely different scenario. If you can tell, because I'm sorry, gang, owners, when they're in a meeting room,
they don't say, how can we make less money?
Blah, 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 blah. How much is going in my pocket? Wait a minute. Less? No deal. But if you can figure out a way to go less games and they're not losing money, then you're going to have something to talk about.
Well, and it's not just it's not just owners. Players never think
I just started with the owners. Yes. Yeah, then players. Like I said, Anthony, go take a poll.
Yeah, like
go on.
There were pitchers. There was a pitcher that signed with the Rockies, and he said he wanted to sign there because it was the schools. Was it Mike Hampton? I think it was. It was Mike Hampton. It's like, no, you went there because they gave you the most money.
Well, I mean listen.
Whenever a player says it's not about the money, it's about the money.
Yeah.
Let's just be clear. And one of the reasons why so many players, when they get upset, they get in a pay cut, they want to go somewhere else so they can get that money back. That's what they want to do. But the idea of players or owners taking less money in this scenario?
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no.
That's never going to happen.
It's just not happening. They're not going to go that way.
Although I will say this. Remember the NBA lockout a few years ago, 2011-2012 season? Right. They only played 66 games.
Right.
There was a little more sense of urgency. Mm-hmm. The regular season seemed a little more interesting, and there weren't these long months where just like, yeah, we'll get there. From a fan's perspective, it was actually great.
I agree.
But you know what? We're not getting any money.
I agree.
So I think that's the bigger issue going forward. And that was Straight Talk, by the way, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Mm-hmm. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Coming up.
I think Brett thinks Carroll had the real Straight Talk.
Well, that's also true. And we'll get to Brett because Bretymology is coming up in a little bit. The NBA playoffs continue to deliver. Plus, an NFL superstar says he's now taking a page from the Philadelphia 76ers. Mm-hmm. Who is trusting the process, and is he being facetious or for real? Stay with us.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash?"
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all good.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
My friend, I don't care. He still sucks as a friend.
You got a friend in me.
It's not like I gotta have the mindset to go out there and score 30, 40 points.
I just had 37. What you mean?
I didn't go out there saying, let me score 30 tonight.
But I'm saying, you had 37. Don't say it like
But I'm saying I didn't go out there saying.
But all I'm saying, you can't say that when you had 37.
Listen what I'm trying to explain, though, bro.
I understand what you're saying.
No, you don't. Let me finish. I didn't even.
Can I leave?
Maybe we missed it. They should just do the Toy Story remake.
It's
Toy Story 5.
Good.
Toy Story 5 North of the Border. That's what it should be for DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And, of course, we're going on the road for the draft next week. We're excited about that. And Golic and Wingo on the road. Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, buses, and more at Progressive.com. All right, we got a lot to get to.
Looking forward to taking the bus down there.
We're excited about it.
Can't wait to drive that.
No,
you
don't get to.
You don't
No,
have
but it's cool.
No, it's not cool.
It is cool.
There's
It's not
nothing
cool.
about
I'm
it.
looking into some things right now. I think there are a few legal loopholes that I can jump through to make
good,
sure that I'm driving the bus.
That's what our
That's what
department
we
wants to
want.
hear, legal
Yeah.
loopholes.
Yeah.
Let's just
Good
close
luck.
that loophole and move on. To what's trending in the NBA, it's the Raptors beating the Wizards 130-119. Toronto leads that series 2-0. Their first ever 2-0 lead in a playoff series in franchise history, and DeMar DeRozan a big reason why.
Yeah, 37 points in this one. He was a monster, and you just heard some of that. It's great to hear DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, two buddies, how they go back and forth in that. But with Washington, John Wall, who had missed a lot of time with injury, did have 29 in this one. But Toronto, we keep talking about them as everybody's saying they're different this year. The bottom line is they have to get over that Eastern Conference hump, which is the LeBron one. And who knows if they'll even see him. That would be the second round matchup. LeBron and company have to get it done against the Pacers, which I think most of us still think they would do, which would put them together in the second round. And that's when the talk will really start and saying, is this Toronto team really ready to take the next step?
And it's amazing that has to be the standard that we judge them by.
But they've done that, right? I mean, they're the reason why we're saying it.
Well, no, LeBron's the reason why we're saying it. LeBron is the reason for all this, the same way Golden State is in the West. Do you think these teams, some of these teams, Boston, Philadelphia, and the like, are really looking hard at this summer for LeBron and saying, man, if he goes to the West, all of a sudden it is open season for us in the East, man. We got our shot.
Well, listen, again, the offseason sometimes is more interesting than any part of the NBA regular season or postseason, but right now the postseason has been pretty interesting. Raptors most points in a playoff game in franchise history with 130. Celtics take a 2-0 lead over the Bucks, which history says this series is over. Jaylen Brown, 30 points. Brown, at 21 years old, 175 days, is the youngest player in Celtics history to score 30 points in a playoff game.
Yeah, pretty impressive what he's done. Terry Rozier has a couple of big games, 23 points in this one. He's gone, 78 minutes, no turnovers.
That's the most impressive thing.
Really is impressive, even though Eric Bledsoe from Milwaukee still doesn't know who he is, though a little back and forth. That may go back to game one. Either way, I picked Milwaukee in this one. I thought without, obviously, Hayward had been out the whole year, but then without Kyrie, I mean, seriously, I mean, that's the man on this team. Celtics still getting it done. Middleton had a slow start in this one, still ended up with 25. Antetokounmpo had 30. Antetokounmpo had a play where he was dribbling up court and Shane Larkin tried to get a charging foul. It was at the free throw line.
Oh, yeah, no, that.
The free throw line, and he moved, and it was a blocking foul, and Giannis was falling down just inside the free throw line and put up a shot and made it. I mean, it showed you why he was the Greek freak, the athlete that he was, to try and have an attempt at the three-point play. But the Celtics, man, so undermanned here, especially obviously without Kyrie, and what the youngins are doing out there is pretty impressive.
I feel like he's really transitioning now to a one-name guy. I feel like we're making the move to Giannis. Before it was the Greek freak when he was just kind of a dunk contest, dunk phenom guy. And now that he's become an actual bona fide star, you can try and play me off all you want. I promise you. I'll start thanking the Pope. I'd like to thank my mom, the Milwaukee Bucks, and everyone for making this moment possible. No, you can't silence me. You and your clock mean nothing.
There we go.
Nothing to me.
Very quickly, here's why history says it's over. The Celtics are 35-0 when they have a 2-0 lead in the best-of-7 series. And, oh, by the way, the Bucks are 0-13 when they're down.
Those aren't good stats.
History says we'd like to thank the Bucks for their participation in the playoffs.
While we're on the subject, we also probably need to talk about Brad Stevens, who's not getting nearly enough shine for Coach of the Year. The guy is just incredible. The job he has put together with this team.
Meanwhile, the Pelicans beat the Trailblazers 111-102. Pelicans lead this series 2-0.
Remember, they lost Gordon Hayward at the beginning of the year, too. People forget that.
Shut up. Here we go. Isn't that it? This one, I picked Portland. Who did you pick in this one?
I think I picked Portland.
I know I picked Portland in this one. I mean, New Orleans getting 2 on the road here. Drew Holiday, both ends of the court in this one, playing over 38 minutes, 33 points, but playing good defense as well. And Anthony Davis, I mean, you're just waiting for him to start to get the MVP awards at some point when we keep wanting to talk about young players, young aspiring players, Joel Embiid's of the world, the Karl Anthony Towns of the world. Anthony Davis is not old. It just seems like he's been in the league forever. been nicked up for a while, but boy, oh boy, I mean, again, how many MVPs are in his future?
You can talk about youth, and you can talk about Jaylen Brown and the night that he had for the Boston Celtics last night. 30 points, and just wow. I mean, one of the youngest guys to do it for them in the playoffs. It has been incredible playing for a young coach, too. Youth, you want to talk about youth and excitement, you're talking about the Boston Celtics.
Joke's over.
Yeah.
It's over when I say it's over.
No, actually,
you and the clock, all of you mean nothing. You're figments. You're constructs.
It's actually over when I and they decide it's over.
Wow.
By the way,
turn my mic right
Holiday,
back on.
again, we talked about the career-high 33 points. The Blazers, 2-19 in series when trailing 2-0.
God,
so
hurry up,
history
Trey.
is against them, and I hit the
Good
buzzer.
job.
And
you did. You got the shot off.
Kids, that's how it's done.
There you go.
So, speaking of how it's done, apparently the process is working in Philadelphia, and one of the largest stars in the NFL dared to go there. Now, look, obviously, if you try to tank in the NFL, you will get many parts of your body hurt.
Yes, you will.
It's not possible. However, it has been a tumultuous offseason for one Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay quarterback. He saw his quarterback coach, Alex Van Pelt, not given a new deal. He saw his favorite wide receiver over the years, Jordy Nelson, shipped out to Oakland, or cut, basically, and then was signed by John Gruden and the Oakland Raiders. So as Aaron Rodgers showed up for off-season workouts, you think maybe he was a little upset. He decided he wanted to take the high road and went there.
I know my role, and that's to play quarterback the best that I can, and the team is going to try and put the right guys in place, the right coaches in place, the right players in place. And you just have to trust the process. As we've talked about over the years, this process works, and it has worked for Mike for a number of years. Obviously, that's why he's still here in his 13th season. We've had a lot of success here, and you've got to trust the process. They're paying me to play quarterback to the best of my abilities, and their job descriptions are to handle those type of things. So I think you just act accordingly.
So there's a lot to get into there. First of all, former Sixers GM Sam Hinkie has to be thinking, see, I tried to tell everybody, and nobody wanted to believe me. Second of all, I don't believe Aaron is going down the, hey, we're gonna lose to get better drafted. That's not the process he's saying. Trust. No. What he's saying is, look, it's been fairly successful here with the way Mike McCarthy, formerly Ted Thompson, and now their new GM have run things. So I'm going to step back a little bit. But I also think he's saying in a way, all right, guys, you want me to just play quarterback? I'll just go play quarterback. But you guys better get it done now.
Well, let me ask you, do you think, we see this obviously in basketball all the time, the top players, we always hear, especially about LeBron, he's really the coach, the GM running the show, and the players have power in the NBA. Do you think a player should have that kind of power in NFL? Not so much power, but be asked about decisions?
Well, whether they should is almost irrelevant, because they never will, because they'll never have the guaranteed contracts outside of Kirk Cousins that you get all the time in the NBA. So whether it's right or wrong, that dollar sign tends to mean a lot more when that money is assigned to you and you know you're going to get it. So, I mean, look, Aaron is he's got 2 years left on his deal, Brett, is that correct? 2 years left, and he's seeing all these deals that are going around, and he knows, hey, I'm going to get paid one way or the other. But people are wondering, have the Packers not done enough in the Aaron Rodgers era at his prime?
Yeah, and I guess to answer, I asked you the question, I'd answer the question, and maybe it comes from my years and you were the same way, Mike, we're foot soldiers, right? I mean, we weren't at the top of the food chain to be in a position to think anybody would come to us for a decision. So I've always played with that mentality of just what Aaron said, whether he was saying it tongue-in-cheek or not and bringing up the process so many times. I do think, they make those decisions and let you know this is who your teammates are going to be. I don't think you should be going to players and asking them their decisions. Now, the one thing we know that upset him, and maybe it's a different part of it, was the quarterback coach, Alex Van Pelt, that they lost and they didn't talk to him about there. But if they were going to get rid of him, maybe they didn't want to talk to Aaron Rodgers about that situation. But I never believe, but I know it happens obviously in the NBA with the guaranteed contracts and the guys on the court, offense, defense. You're all encompassing as opposed to just playing one side of the ball in the NFL.
You can understand it with Aaron Rodgers though, to an extent, right? We just dealt with this problem in New England where everyone assumes the importance of their part, but the difference is everyone involved is otherworldly great at what they do, and Brady and Belichick and Kraft and all the like. No one else in this Packers organization is as good as their job as Aaron is at his. They're not even close.
Mike McCarthy's a pretty good head coach.
Mike McCarthy's a pretty good head coach, but is he one of the 2 or 3 greatest head coaches in the league right now? Is he one of the best coaches of all time? Doubt it.
Look,
none of the other guys in this organization. So I'm just saying, from Aaron's perspective, especially for the things that affect him, his primary target at wide receiver, the guy that he spends his meeting time with in the quarterback room, to all of a sudden look around and say, "Oh, okay, you guys took those from me." That's fine. I'll trust you, but it better be something good in return, because you talk about the importance of NBA players. You could argue if one guy is as important to his team in the NFL as an NBA player is to their team, it's Aaron Rodgers. This team is nothing without him. Nothing.
Well, we saw that last year when he went down with a broken collarbone and their season was lost. Look, I'm not going to say Mike McCarthy is one of the greatest coaches of all time, but I've always been struck by the way Bill Belichick talks about Mike McCarthy when those two teams play. It's pretty clear that Belichick has a hell of a lot of respect for Mike McCarthy and the way he goes about his business. That, to me, carries a lot of weight. So I'm not going to say he's up there with Bill Belichick, but outside of Belichick and Mike McCarthy, those are some of the best coaches we got in football.
I think to Mike's point, I agree. You have Belichick, Brady, Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Best in the business, best in the business, best in the business.
And some best of all time in those situations.
Right, exactly right. And you don't have that in Green Bay. And I know Green Bay fans. I mean, listen, Green Bay fans had Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. And you're like, we need to, how many right now, how many Super Bowl wins do you have with all of those?
That would be one.
That would be one. So you're like, we went back to back. Some of the only other back to backs you can talk about maybe that great in this modern time was Steve Young, Joe Montana.
Yeah.
And what do you have to show for it? Right now they have one. It's like, we got to make hay while we have one of the great quarterbacks playing.
Absolutely. And Aaron is 34. And look, Tom is obviously showing us that you can play a long time at a high level, but at some point, he had to realize he's the outlier, especially when Aaron is more of an athletic quarterback.
Yes.
Tom is strictly, by the book, make the play, all that kind of stuff. And he's sneaky, but Aaron is much more athletic when it comes to moving around in the pocket than Brady is. So you want to make sure you capitalize what you can, and it's going to be very interesting going forward, seeing what happens with Aaron Rodgers when he trusts the process. Well, we all trust a very important process, ladies and gentlemen. And as Carol in Virginia wants to know, it's that time.
It's the game show segment that's captivating a nation.
The origin is Latin, and it has been sort of corrupted over time.
Like this show.
Making everyone that hears it smarter.
In the 1800s, English authors were likely to partake in opium den activities.
Now, with your host, researcher Brett.
Take a guess where that came from. Brett's got your answer.
It's Bretymology.
Here are the categories. Words and their meanings. That's straightforward.
And that is the only category. Bretymology is brought to you by Discover Card, who will match all the cash back new card members earn at the end of their first years. Learn more at discover.com/match. And as always, limitations apply. Okay, we mentioned Carol from Virginia.
Yes, we did.
Apparently, Brett has a fan, and this is something that Carol called in to say how much she loves Brett and Bretymology.
Hey, Golic and Wingo, it's Carol from Virginia. I love your show and I love Bretymology. Just a suggestion for Brett. Work on your pronunciations like Aristophanes, not Aristophanes, Pliny, not Pliny, and Pompey, not Pompeii, the city which was destroyed by Vesuvius. By the way, Brett, you are so right about Bob Dylan. He can't sing. Have a great day.
Wow. Is that your mom?
Wow.
Is that your mom?
Brett? I have a bonus phrase for you guys this week. And the origin is Carol from Virginia.
Okay.
Throwing shade.
Yeah. Throwing shade. All right.
Yeah.
So
that's all it is. We're going to get to the actual
So it really wasn't it at all.
All right. So the one thing about this that needs to improve.
Yeah.
Trey, you and I are both 7 for 12. Mike is here this time
inaugural
as well.
It's his expansion run. So if he can do as well as the Golden Knights, we'll be very impressed.
He would always be in the back group when they would be answering. What we need to improve upon, Cliff, this is on you.
Yeah.
Who's right and who's wrong? So hold off until we ask. If we get different answers here, who's right, who's wrong, before we do the buzzer.
I think we're just going to go with Brett because Cliff messed it up.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah. That's
Cliff,
you're out. We love Cookmaster Cliff.
Yeah.
We love you. But
Except
this one
this.
may be outside your window of expertise.
Yeah. Good point.
All right, Brett, here we go. What is the first phrase?
All right. Phrase number 1 of 4. Big cheese. Means the most important person.
Aaron Rodgers.
The big enchilada. Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy?
Is it
Gouda?
Cheese became a slang term for money during the Great Depression when food prices spiked and cheese was largely inaccessible to people, especially in cities. Big cheese was slang for someone who had the means to afford whatever groceries they wanted.
I really like that definition. Or.
Prior to cheesy meaning second rate, in the 1800s in Britain, It was a slang term to call something the cheese, which meant it was the best of its kind.
Wow.
I am going with numero uno.
2.
You're going with one.
Junior, you're going with two. I'm going with one.
I think I'm going to go with one as well.
So 1 or 2. Brett, is it 1 or 2 correct?
2 is correct.
No
way.
Right out of the gate. Right out of the gate. Woo. Junior is 1 for 1, and we are 7 for 13. Wow. All right, what's next?
Gravy train.
Oh, gravy.
The gravy train.
Easy job.
We got a food theme going today, Brett.
We do.
You
the
hungry?
The theme is food today. Okay. I'm sorry.
Does he look hungry?
Is it 1920s railroad workers used this term as shorthand to describe a job that would be easy but pay well? Gravy was already slang for easy money at the time, so it was a short jump to combine it with the industry they were working in.
Mm-hmm.
Or
in
the early 1900s, elite families in New York City would have elaborate staffs working in their homes. The easiest job was working in the kitchen. Those who worked the kitchen duty were said to be, quote, riding the gravy boat, which eventually became the gravy train.
All right, could you read that first one again to me?
The first one. Ooh. 1920s railroad workers used this term as shorthand to describe a job that would be easy but pay well. Gravy was already slang for easy money, so it was a short jump to combine it with the industry they were working in.
Well, I tell you what, the wrong ones are well done.
Yeah, this is the closest you've ever gone.
I'm going with number 2.
I'm going number 1.
Mike, where do you go?
2 spot. Got to be 2.
So 1 or 2 correct.
2. Number 1 is correct.
Bang! Man! Bang! There we go.
Bamboozled.
Yes. Who's the smart guy now? There you go. So Junior is 1 for 2. I am 8 for 13. Golic is 7 for 13. All right, what do you got, 14. Smart guy?
Upset the apple cart.
Aha!
To create difficulty.
Yes.
Is it the apple cart originally referred to the human body? Francis Gross first documented it in 1788 in the Dictionary of the Vulgar Tongue.
Gross.
When upset the apple cart meant to knock a man off his feet.
That was a lot. Or
during the late 1800s in the South, organized crime syndicates paid farmers to transport contraband along with their produce. When a supply line was cut off, the police literally upset the apple cart. The phrase came back during Prohibition in the 1920s, by which point the apple cart itself was gone, but the smuggling remained.
I feel really good about 2.
I do as well.
I feel really good about 2.
If not, it's one of the greatest made-up ones I've heard.
I feel really good about 2.
Don't go against the family.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Got to be 1. Got to be 1.
2. Got to be 1. Number 1 is correct.
Oh, my. That's what I'm talking about. Man.
Wow.
I see you, Devin.
Wow.
Me and you.
That was a really good one, because I read a book once called Cosa Nostra about the start of the Italian mob and how they did use apple carts and part of that stuff in New York City. So
look where all that reading got you.
They actually stuffed a guy in a barrel once.
Reading means nothing.
Reading has done nothing good for anyone.
I'm 0 for 3, by the way.
Did you just say reading has not done no good for anyone?
No. Did you get the answer right from your book?
No, but that's
I got mine.
Fundamental. Way to take a really gross generalization.
I got mine from the internet.
I don't read a lot. Look at me.
Like I said.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Yep.
Last one this week.
All right, your final phrase. To chew the fat.
Chew the fat.
Yes.
Something these two clearly have a clear advantage on.
I have to get this one right.
Chew myself.
And we are going to take it to the British Army.
Going to the Army!
Is it from the War of 1812, when British soldiers allied with the legendary Shawnee warrior Tecumseh? I'm sure Carol's going to correct me on that.
Oh, yeah.
And his army of Native Americans. The British scouts stationed with the Native American scouts observed their custom of chewing on buffalo or rabbit hides, which they would do during any tedious periods, like when they were on post or a tracking mission.
Yeah.
Or
is
it a British Army term documented by J. Brunless Patterson in 1885? British soldiers in India in the 1800s would often sit around during idle times and chew on their rations of salted pork.
Okay, you see what he's done here, first of all.
Yeah.
Both definitions have the words British soldiers and either India or Indians. So if you had any sort of thought process of how this may lead you, he's thrown you because you could hear either one of those things in the correct answer.
Number 1.
Number 1 strong.
Number 1.
Number 2 is correct.
Oh, come on!
You're a jerk. Get out of here.
I'm going to give you a little bit extra context here. It actually it evolved from the term chew the cud, which is what a cow does.
Yeah.
Animals have to regurgitate their food and chew on it.
We got that.
Yeah, we get that. Yeah. Or, yeah.
I'm just giving you more context.
Okay, good. Your time's up. I went 0 for 4.
You took. By the way, you started 4 for 4. You're now under 500.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, so if we're going by percentages, I'm tied for first right now.
Yeah,
Let's go.
By the way, you have not gotten one right in the last 2 weeks.
No, I have not. I was 4
I got
for 4.
one
Wow.
right. I'm batting 500.
Yeah, and
so I'm in the Hall of Fame.
And you're batting 500, 8 for 16, and Junior, you're 2 for 4.
Yeah, but it's
hot start.
That's like hitting 3 home runs in one game and hitting 4 the rest of the year.
I agree. He's got to build. He's got to build it up a little more.
You can get Player of the Week hitting 3 home runs in a game.
Yes, once. Do it for the season. See, right now I'm in the Hall of Fame at 8 for 16. I'm just telling you right now I'm in the Hall of Fame.
I just stink.
So back to that reading thing and how it's working for you.
Huh?
There you go. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So Junior, thanks for playing.
Yeah.
Brett, thanks for being the star of the show. And Carol from Virginia, you don't know what you've created. Coming up, a rare admission from a commissioner in one of the major sports. That's next.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
By the way, speaking of Brett and Bretymology, you mentioned
sweeping the nation.
You mentioned you were 8 for 16.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that you would basically be in the Hall of Fame because you're a 500 hitter.
Yeah.
I saw this tweet from John, and I'm trying to – there's no way he's right. He says, Trey, 8 for 16 isn't 500. 12 for 12 is. I guess math wasn't your strong subject. John,
12 for 12 is perfection.
Is perfection. What are you talking about, John? It actually made me stop and think. I said, could this – what is he saying?
What's 16 divided in half? It's 8. What's 8 plus 8 is 16. 12 for 12 is 100 out of 100.
John, I don't know what you're coming from.
John, we'd like to thank you for your participation in the Golic and Wingo Twitter feed, but we wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
I thought I was losing my mind when he tweeted that.
So you think John was trying to gaslight you? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know what was going on there, but it made me actually think for a minute. When I knew what the answer was,
John,
8 for 16 isn't 500. 12 for 12 is.
John, you need to put down the Twitter machine and go back to whatever it is you were doing.
You really hope his job has nothing to do with numbers.
If he's a CPA or a tax guy, somebody's in real trouble. Wow. All right, we continue here on Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Look, we try and tackle the tough issues.
There we go.
On the show, like math with John, but also what to do about the end of the NBA season, because let's be honest, there's 2 races at the end of the NBA season, to get into the playoffs and to find in any way, shape, or form a way to not win, to get the best chances at getting the best pick in the draft lottery. It's been a problem. It's been addressed by NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, who, of course, they're going to a different formula next year, which we believe actually will only create more tanking because now you have better odds of more teams to get that
so instead of
that lowest pick.
The worst team getting the best percentage for the first pick, now the worst 3 teams get the same percentage, which I think is basically, 14% each of the bottom 3 teams get. So it really opens you up now to be one of the worst 3 teams. Yeah. Not just the worst team.
So you don't have to get to the bottom. You just have to be in the bottom 3.
Bottom 3.
So obviously we think that's convoluted. While we admire the attempt, we think it didn't really clear up anything. And this is what NBA Commissioner Adam Silver had to say about that on the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
I recognize that it can be, especially on paper, a successful strategy, which is why we changed the draft lottery and reduced the odds down from 25% to 14% for the first pick for the worst performing team. But on top of that, we may not have gone far enough. And I think because to the extent that the 76ers are successful, it makes that approach that much more tempting for other teams. And ultimately, that's what a league is about. It's about competition. And so it's something I'm watching very closely.
All right, there's two things to get in there. Number one, he's absolutely right. It did work for the Sixers.
Yes, it did.
I mean, it was a long way to get there.
Right.
And you never want to put your fans through, 3 years of guaranteed losing to make sure you get these picks, and we understand that. But that's the problem. It actually worked.
Right.
What we're seeing, you don't have Ben Simmons. You don't have Joel Embiid. We don't know what's going to happen with Markelle Fultz, obviously.
But youngest ever have a triple-double. I mean, even coming off injury, so.
It's been rewarded. So they're trying to fix it. You and I believe their fix is only going to make it worse.
The fix, yeah, he's saying the top now going from 25% to 14%, but you've expanded that to now 3 teams. So, yeah, I don't get the help there. Bottom line is, and he said it, and he's right, more needs to be done. The question is, though, Trey, what? What more? What can be done? You know, you've heard all the arguments of take the first team out of the playoffs. That would be a team like, look at Denver. Denver lost the last game of the season to Minnesota. Denver was the out then, and Minnesota was in.
Right.
So there are those that say give those teams the highest draft picks. But then the thought is, well, how will the lowest teams ever get better then?
Yeah.
Now they're the worst team. Now they're not getting the best draft picks, so they have to completely rely, on trades and or free agency. But if you're that bad, who is a free agent, a big-time free agent, is going to go to your team when it's equal pay. That's the big separator in a sport like football, is one side can offer way more money than the other side. In basketball, when you're talking about max players, they're trying to make it better to stay for your own team to get more money. But if you go somewhere else, it's basically the same amount of money. And who's going to go to one of the worst teams in the league?
Right.
So I don't know the fix for this.
Here's the bigger problem. It's the NBA situation is the anti-Ricky Bobby. Because what is Ricky Bobby's slogan? If you're not first, you're last. Well, no. If in the NBA, if you're not first, you want to be last.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than being in the middle when it comes to the NBA. Quite frankly, a team like the Denver Nuggets, who you just mentioned, that lost that last game of the season, that missed out on the postseason, are arguably in a worse case scenario than some of these teams that are at the bottom and have a chance to draft and get these really good players. So this is the dynamic that has to be fixed. Because, and I'll be honest, I don't know what the answer is. I do not know.
I don't think it's rewarding the first teams out of the playoffs, because I don't know how the bottom feeders ever get better, especially when we saw Philadelphia, how they did get better having those number 1 picks. So I don't know the answer to this.
I will say this. I'll give Adam Silver credit for trying and admitting that it's a problem, because let's be honest, out of all the big commissioners out there, he is extremely progressive.
Yes.
He is the guy
proactive, not reactive.
Proactive, not reactive, and more in tune maybe with the players than anybody else. I mean, there is a real partnership, I believe, with the way the NBA league office and the NBA Players Association work together, whether it's on trying to fix things in the game, whether it's about trying to work together to make sure everybody has the most money coming out of these situations, or quite frankly, working together on social issues. And I feel like the NFL has made some real progress in that area over the last couple of years with what Rodgers tried to do, but I think that the template has been set here by Adam Silver and the way he's attacked this problem, right?
I absolutely agree, but this is going to continue to be a problem because you can't do it. I mean, you see teams doing it all the time, and I know there's been the edict that if you're doing it, you can get penalized for doing it, but good luck.
Yeah.
With that again, and what we'll continue to say, and I want to make sure I say this isn't the players. The players are not the ones on the court trying to lose.
No.
This is all management with the players they're putting out there. They're just not as good enough players to compete with other players. Players are trying to win. Players aren't going to do this, especially because there are X amount of max players, and then there's the majority, which is everybody else who wants to play well to put themselves in position for a better contract, and going out there and an individual trying to lose is not helping your cause for that at all.
These are organizational decisions, not player decisions. Because as you said, if you're out there and you're a fringe player, the last thing you want to do is go out there and stink it up, because you know what you aren't anymore? A fringe player.
That's exactly
You're
right.
a G League player, or you're going to Europe or somewhere else, which is not to say that going to Europe wouldn't be a terrible thing.
But it's not what their goal is.
Correct, and it's not where you're going to make the most money as well. So we'll see what happens going forward. We applaud the commissioner for saying, hey, we got a problem. We tried to fix it. We may not have done the right thing, but we're trying to get in that direction, and we'll see what happens. All right, coming up, arguably the best player available in next week's NFL Draft will join us next. That's pass rusher Bradley Chubb out of North Carolina State.
Love scoring amazing hotel deals? Then you've got to get the Hotel Tonight app. Forget scrolling through never-ending lists of hotels. Hotel Tonight shows you a select list of incredible deals at hotels you actually want to stay at. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can book up to 100 days in advance in top destinations and up to a week in advance everywhere else. Want to get those deals? Yeah, you do. Download the Hotel Tonight app now.
The Buccaneers get defensive end Jason Pierre-Paul in a deal with the Giants.
Well, maybe they're not going after a quarterback. Maybe they're all in on Bradley Chubb.
I'm of the belief that last year, if you're stacking him up play for play with Myles Garrett, I'm taking him. I think he's that good.
Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Getting a quote is easier than ever.
All right, we continue here on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. It is just about a week from the start of the draft. Next Thursday will be the start of the draft. Next week at this time, Wednesday, Golic and Wingo will be coming to you from the great city of Dallas as we get set for what should be the 3-day extravaganza. And while so much talk has been made about the quarterbacks available in this draft, if you take quarterbacks out of it, a lot of people believe because there will be a run at quarterbacks at the top of the draft, the best players available in the draft really will fall in that 6 through 12 range. And that's where you're going to see guys like Quentin Nelson, the guard from Notre Dame, a couple of defensive backs, Minkah Fitzpatrick out of Alabama, Derwin James, the safety out of Florida State, be drafted, Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker out of Virginia Tech.
Oh, what an athlete
as well as Bradley Chubb out of North Carolina State.
I would say, outside of the quarterbacks, so we know the quarterbacks get the talk, and especially there's a number of them this year, and I would say they're better than the quarterbacks, but the quarterbacks are going to be the top picks. We know that. The three best, and then it starts to fall off, in my opinion, is Saquon Barkley, Bradley Chubb, and Quentin Nelson. Whatever order you want to put them in. But those are the three guys who I think, outside of the quarterback talk that we have, are the three best, even quite honestly with the quarterback, are the three best in this draft. And then I'm with the Minkah Fitzpatrick, the Tremaine Edmonds and all, and those guys who are excellent players, I think, as well. But I think those three headline it. Saquon Barkley, Quentin Nelson, and Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb, I got to see him play up close and personal. North Carolina State played Notre Dame this year. I was at that game. Plus, I obviously saw him play in other games and watched a lot of tape on him. You know, at 6'4", like 270, he's a lanky player. I really love his gap control, his discipline, and then his pass rush ability is fantastic.
Look, he can do it all, and we are delighted to be joined now in Golic and Wingo by soon-to-be one of the top picks in the NFL draft, former North Carolina State defensive end Bradley Chubb. Hey, Bradley, thanks for being with us. When you hear Louis Riddick, our ESPN NFL insider, front office guy, say you compare favorably to Myles Garrett, who was the number 1 overall pick in last year's draft, what does that say about what your expectations are?
For myself, and I know a lot of people outside going to have high expectations of me as well. So I'm just going to wherever team I get drafted by, work my tail off like I did my 4 years at NC State, and just try to be the best me.
As I was saying before, and watching you play, I love your speed off the edge, but your discipline, your gap discipline. You can play in any scheme. I really appreciate that as a former defensive lineman. What do you think, in your mind, is the biggest thing you're going to bring to an NFL team?
Just my leadership, my ability to rush the passer, my love for the game, just everything that embodies a great football player. I feel like I'm gonna bring to a team. And I'm just excited to bring it.
Bradley Chubb bringing it with us right now on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Bradley, when you look at this year's draft, a lot of people are heavy on the quarterbacks. But what I noticed at one of your workouts at North Carolina State at the Pro Day, Bill Belichick came down and had a really interesting exchange with you and took a lot of time to talk to you. And he had a great line where he said, "You won't be there when we draft at 31, but you're a hell of a player." What did it mean to hear something like that from a guy many consider to be one of the best talent evaluators and coaches the NFL's ever seen?
I mean, it's definitely humbling. Just because he's won so many Super Bowls, done so many things at the highest level of football, and for him to look at me and say that I won't be there because I'm get picked too high is definitely one of the most humbling things. Something I work tail off for, like I said, the past 4 years, and to see all this stuff coming to fruition is definitely a great feeling.
Talking to Bradley Chubb again, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, unanimous first-team All-American selection this year. I did see in that Notre Dame game that a couple of times I believe you actually dropped back into coverage, and I was even screaming up there from your side of it saying, why would you ever drop this guy in coverage? Is this something you never really want to see happen to you in the NFL, that they would actually drop you off in coverage and just let you rush?
I mean, throughout college I did it a lot, so I'm comfortable with it, but I definitely like rushing the passer. I definitely like getting after it. So it's one of those things that if I had to do it, I will do it. I won't complain, but my mindset is rushing the passer for sure.
Well, speaking of that, as Bradley Chubb is with us, former North Carolina State defensive end, could go with the top 2, maybe top 5 picks in the draft. One team that has a pretty good pass rusher who is very much in the Bradley Chubb sweepstakes would be the Denver Broncos, who pick at 5. I want you to listen to what, speaking of pass rushers,
yes,
Von Miller, who Super Bowl MVP, pretty good pass rusher in his own right, had to say about your game. Listen in.
Yeah, he's Khalil Mack and Von Miller put together.
That's a pretty good player.
Yeah, he is a great player, and I would love to have him. You know, I'd love to have him on my team.
So when you hear Von Miller say you are a combination of him and Khalil Mack, what does that mean to you?
I mean, it's crazy. One of the best to do it in the game right now. Two of the best to do it in the game right now, and for him to say that is definitely, like I said, one of the humbling experience, of course. And it's just great to see that all the talent, all the hard work is not going unnoticed, especially by one of the best to do it, like I said. So just to hear him say that is cool.
Bradley, is there pressure for expectations of going where you're going to go and the expectation of what you're expected to do at the next level? Is sometimes does that get in the way of performance?
Not really. Just because I know what got me here, so I know that I'm never going to slack and never going to think I made it, because my whole life I got this chip on my shoulder, and my whole life I've been doubted. So I just try to go in there and prove everybody wrong. So if you have high expectations, low expectations, I'm just try to prove you wrong and do what I know I can do.
See, that's why you're different than us, because we walk into this radio show and television show every day just trying to set the bar low enough that we can cross it. So you're way ahead of us right now where you are in your mental preparation for what's ahead. But this is a weird process, is it not, Bradley? Mm-hmm. Because everything else has been about game tape and film and showing things on the field. And then you get into this, for lack of a better term, 7 to 8 week extended dance mix job interview. What's been the weirdest part of this process leading up to the draft?
The weirdest part, I wouldn't say it's weird, but the part that I didn't see coming was all the traveling that I've been doing. I mean, I've been on East Coast, West Coast, been like all over the place, just trying to do different things and go to different teams and just do all this stuff. I didn't realize I was going to be traveling so much, but it's definitely a fun experience and something I dreamed about, so I can't complain too much.
Just know you'll never have to do a broad jump, a high jump, or a cone drill ever again, and you can actually just play football now. And Bradley, we wish you nothing but the best of luck. It's got to be a dream come true when you're going to hear your name called, and I'm sure you're going to have a heck of an impact in the NFL. So really appreciate your time and best of luck.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all for having me on the show.
You got it, Bradley. We'll talk to you in Dallas, and I'm sure we'll hear your name called very, very soon.
You know, again, you talk about players of his size, of guys that are that edge rusher, but
freak show.
Watch him play. He's a disciplined football player. You don't just want a guy taking off. Certainly you want that for the sacks and stuff.
He's not a one-trick pony.
Yeah, you need to play within the scheme of the defense, play your responsibility, and when asked to get after the pass rusher, do that. He does that extremely well in the scheme of the defense. That's how was one of the most impressive things is, and don't drop the guy off into coverage.
Yeah. Well, he's athletic enough to do it.
He is.
Von Miller actually covered some plays like that in the AFC Championship in the Super Bowl game that year they won it. So you want to show him off. You're right. You're like Bill Cow. You're like Bill Cowher talking to Greg Lloyd all those years ago. Rush the quarterback.
The passer.
All right, coming up, we just talked to Bradley Chubb. Up next, we'll ask Mel Kiper Jr. where Chubb is going to go.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie. This does look fun. Whee-oh! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.